provocation for today is media is everything, and media is everywhere. And in the theme of this study, what we've seen is that the role of media in organizations, the organization of media in organizations is fundamentally changing. And to give a quick insight, when we had a briefing call with these guys last week, we didn't even talk about media. Content production, CRM, influencer, all obviously very interdependent. And just to put some meat on the bones, some of the research which will be published in the next few months, 65% believe the scope of media responsibility is expanding into creative disciplines. 72% are seeing media more integrated into marketing disciplines. 72% more connected with commerce and shopper media. 83% better integrated with data and insight. I could go on. There's a lot of themes, and especially one of the big ones is around what, therefore, are the capabilities that we need to be building for the future. So with that in mind, I want to ask our panel, on the basis that media is indeed everything, does it still make sense to define media in the way that we've always known it? Olya.
To be totally honest, I think that right now, often when we work in our businesses, we use media as a language for paid media. Oh, hello. Shall we pause for a second?
Why not?
Keep going.
Hello.
Keep going.
We use media as a paid media definition, which means that it really limits how we are looking into it. But I think we can talk about touch points. The reality is that we are connecting with consumers across every touch point, whether it's TV, whether it's shop floor, whether it's the product itself. So it really is not just about media and paid media, although it's a lot of money that we spend there. That's not going anywhere. So I think we should talk more about experiences, touch points, and then at the executional level, there is an element of paid media buying that you need to do, execution in experience, execution on shop floor, etc.
Thank you.
Yeah, for us, it's exactly the same. We have to view this all as one conversation with the consumer, right? So how a brand interacts with the consumer. I mean, it's the old adage of integrated marketing, right? Media is just the best way to measure those things. The best way, it's the biggest spend, right? And everything needs to be compared to that. So we could, media is a part of it, a big part of it, but it's this integrated approach that we're all chasing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we always speak that the best thing about working across many markets is experiencing different people's cultures. Out of the last 25 years, I think the thing I've enjoyed the most is experiencing the way people do business differently. And this question comes up very clearly, because in some countries, you mention media and it's just assumed you're talking about absolutely everything. There are still some countries who talk about media meaning thinking it's, for example, just broadcast and print, not digital, paid only, etc. But I think we're fooling ourselves because the people we're talking to think way more broadly. None of us go to work just to do one particular part of something. We have a huge amount of input in absolutely everything. So it is everything. It is everywhere. And honestly, that's what the word means. So, yeah.
In our research, the role of the integrator feels like it's growing, and I'd love to hear from you where that role should sit. Is that a client role? Is that an agency role? Is it a different agency role where you actually have someone who has no horse in the race?
So you've tapped onto a really, really good point, which is when we create silos which match the agency silos, we create problems. And we have situations, and I say we as an industry, we have situations where the internal team is defending the work that the agency does or contributes, which is, of course, hugely valuable, and we start to lose the voice of that integrator person. And we're involved in a lot of acquisitions, and whenever I meet a new company of sort of 12 to 20 people who are going to go start flying, I say, have fun now. This is the awesome time, because you don't have any of that bullshit of 20, 30 people in a meeting 3 times a week for no particular purpose. And I honestly, the thing that cannot stand more than anything else is our internal silos. matching the agency silos. I agree the agencies should be special. And I know you're going to get to this, but the agencies need to be special because there's so many different amazing talents. But that's not what we do. We sell beer or grow brands. We sell lottery tickets or grow brands.
The word integrator I cringe at. I think what you're really talking about is a leader. Somebody who can control it. I mean, you've got a lot of companies now where with AI and with quantum and blockchain and metaverse, you can integrate things and direct things much more effectively from the center. So changing the organizational structure is absolutely critical. When you talk about integrators, it implies people bringing things together. I think what you've got to do is have people who control budgets. Now, there's one packaged goods company, major packaged goods company, new CEO there, who's gone from sort of a centralized CMO to 4 CMOs and talks about implementing at a country level, sort of interesting, different approach. And the reason he's doing that is because his competition is not other global packaged goods companies, it's the local ones, in India or Brazil or wherever it happens to be, or China, who operate locally and whatever. So I bristle a bit on integration, and I think with AI, what we can do is we can centralize stuff as an agency and provide asset management platforms on a centralized basis, but it needs direction and it needs alignment.
I agree with the creativity, tech, and data, but I think there is one terribly overlooked skill, from my opinion, is very good inside-based comms planning, through the line planning. We talked about it, and that's why I ended up here, because we right now often create separate work for different touch points, or we create work that is not necessarily pulled through from inside standpoint. It's a really great idea, great insight, not necessarily execution consistently, but we need those good strategic planners sitting wherever they are. I don't know which agency and which element.
Do you think they should be in-house?
This is a good question, and that's what, again, Ryan and I has been talking a lot about. I don't have an answer right now, and I actually have a couple of friends in businesses where it sits in-house, and a couple of friends where it sits in media agencies, and some actually in creative
Who knows
agencies.
more about the beer business than you? Nobody.
I know. And that's one of the points that is very sticky. It's the question of whether agencies want to change their way to be closer to business or...
But a good comms planner has external stimulus. That's why sometimes it's better at an agency, right? So I do agree that Olya probably knows more about the beer industry than any comms planner does, but it's really also about the consumer. It's about platforms and how they connect to consumers, right? So it's a tough one. I almost think you need a comms planner in every silo, right?
But I think clients have to have more control.
I think we need to own the strategy.
Yes.
We need to lead the strategy.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
then
Exactly.
Then on the in-housing, there are two things in we in-house with clients. So we're the subject of a Harvard Business School case study around T-Mobile and Sprint, specifically on in-housing a couple of years ago. What that case study said was there are two areas of after-sales service, to your point. One is keeping people aware of tech and developments in tech. So that's one. The other is talent. Talent tends to like variation. So if you're in one vertical or limited number of verticals, you're going to have churn. But so the role of the agency or the role of the advisor is to help with that too. So those two areas. But I do think, it may sound crazy coming from an agency guy, but I do think control related to agility too. I think you can move faster if you have it in-house, some of it, not all of it, some of it in-house.
No, and I agree with that. We're big enough that we can do that. But the first thing our strategy team, like our comm strategy team will tell you is, I need an agency to support that, right? So it's an interesting. I do think that sometimes we outsourced way too much in this area, but it affects things like innovation, and it's so deep into like driving brand growth that you're absolutely right. You can't separate the brand from that comm strategy and innovation,
And
right?
you know what one person told me when I was talking to a lot of colleagues trying to answer that question about comms planners? They told me that the best comms planners that they saw usually come from media agencies who got disappointed because they can't get close to the business, and that therefore they actually go to the client side, becomes comms planners there because they truly understand through the line. But at the same time, I also agree with Ron, we should have more control and ownership, definitely ownership. But if agency has great skills of great comms planners, why say no to that? Because indeed they will be more on top of the things. But we need to make sure we connect them to the business and we actually bring them in. And that's where interagency team needs to be interagency team, including also us as a client.